Hello, my friends. I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And we're looking at BattleTech Dossiers, the bounty hunter. The bounty hunter came on the scene, decades and decades ago. And in a lot of ways, the bounty hunter has been an enigma and an oddity. And you could make the argument that this particular character, whomever it is at any given time, is the BattleTech Universe's version of the Dread Pirate Roberts, who always disguises their appearance and has this. The story goes is passed, so the position gets passed down to one person to the next. So the legend is much bigger than one person. So the bounty hunter represents, I don't know, somebody's idea of a knockoff of Boba Fett from Star Wars, and that's being disingenuous. I grant you that. I'm not going to nail that one down. But at the same time, it shows an opportunity for players to play in the BattleTech universe from a completely different party perspective. The pure mercenary who's in it for the money. Well, bounty hunters are a bit more than that. Most of them have some kind of ideology involved as well. The motivations, even the various entities that's made up the bounty hunter, did so under different motivations. And we don't know exactly how far it goes back. The dossier hints that there's a couple individuals that go back hundreds of years that were piloting green mechs and calling themselves this or whatever, whether or not they were officially considered the bounty hunter or they're just being attached to make the infamy of the character deeper, wider. I don't know, but I just thought it was that they're an interesting study, and from a game player perspective. It just goes to, once again, show that you don't have, your faction can be as small as yourself, and you're yourself versus everybody else for whatever reason. So in many ways, the bounty hunter is a vigilante. The difference is usually the vigilante takes on their role as a vigilante in response to something that's gone terribly wrong in their own personal life, or as an act of revenge or an act of justice. Because, I heard I forget where I heard this yesterday. It's something, it was one of the movie genres or something, and somebody said such and such doesn't seek revenge. Jeez, we was watching Star Trek's Darkness, Into the Darkness, or whatever the hell it was. I was on CBS last night, and we don't act out of vengeance. And my thought was right off the bat is, but what about justice? Right. So in that aspect, the vigilante still serves a role and a purpose within the BattleTech universe as a whole. And yeah, I made notes. So the bounty hunter, the red pirates, he or she, depending on the era, represents the vigilante for more than the Boba Fett sort. The concept shows yet another way to play BattleTech. I covered that. In some ways, the character or small group or solo players would find the bounty hunter appealing and fitting. So once again, if you're dealing with a very small group, if it's just you and your buddy, you and your wife wants to play a mech warrior, but you need to find some kind of position to do it. So acting as a bounty hunter role is not outside the realm of possibilities. What I'd like to have seen is more in-depth source book on the bounty hunter as a whole, and their work and their applications in the inner sphere. One that gives us a look into his or hers operation, including the hideouts, dropship, possibly contracts throughout the eras, maybe even some guidelines on conducting a bounty hunter role within BattleTech. And then my personal note, the bounty hunter is no white hat, nor is he or she a villain, though actions over the years suggest a bit of both. That's just even in here, the current battle as of this one, the current bounty hunter resorts to threatening to kidnap or kidnapping and threatening to kill Duke Kai Allard-Liao's daughter in order to force him to come out into an open confrontation for him. And I thought, well, that's a pretty shitty thing to do. And if you're hired by somebody to acquire somebody else, that's kind of, I don't know, right? That's more of the sort of thing an assassin, a terrorist would do. So it just shows you that boundary can be pretty damn thin, or can overlap in very bad ways, right? So we got our little story, Ensemble Hills. We got our inserts of our couple of the members of the bounty hunters group and the bounty hunter, the current bounty hunter himself. And we go on to the missions. You'll accept my offer. Means to an end. GM section. So the bodyguards are highly trained masquerade operatives with years of experience protecting a human. Use the soldier template, local conditions, additional difficulty, aftermath objectives. So, like turning points. This is a module, a game module, or a mission parameter setup for you to set up or to run a mini campaign with the focus of being representing the bounty hunter, and their goal is to capture fucking Kai Allard-Liao personally alive and not dead, but I guess dead is also an option too. And doing so in such a manner that doesn't force the bounty hunter to actively fight the entire contingent of Allard-Liao's military force. And so it's pretty slick how he pulls it off and gets it done, but still. So here's a couple members of the bounty hunters group. Over the years, the bounty hunters have been at least 3 different individuals from the 30-25 era to the current era, as that I know, or the current era would be the 30-60s. So here we are in 31, what is it, 3150 or something like that. So that by now there's been several additional people who have been bounty hunter, the quote bounty hunter, and in the modern era there ought to be a bounty hunter. And you know, it just seems like to me as a kind of an oddball character in a universe that's kind of not aligned for what their role is. Yet there's always a role for characters like this. So we talk about Vic Travers, the bounty hunter as of so he was the original quote bounty hunter. No, so he's the third one as of 3068. 3068. So yeah, so we've had another 100 plus years. So we've had at least 2 more, maybe 3. In the history of the bounty hunter, personal stats. Well, yeah, most of the stuff just game related for the setting up your mechs and his forces and stuff like that. So what I was talking about earlier is where I would like to see a little bit more depth to this. This could easily be a 40 page source book. If we included things like how his organization works in parameters, set it up, lay it out, possible contacts, a whole section on possible known or possible contacts, other missions, other things. What are these guys doing? Because the stuff that that they do to get Allard-Liao is reprehensible in some ways. I mean, seriously, and convoluted. But we're talking Kai Allard-Liao here too, so it's possible this was the one method that somebody decided to use to force a confrontation in a favorable way. Even though ideally, if the bounty hunter just flat out approached Kai Allard-Liao and put the thing around the table, Kai would probably have took him on, would have accepted a challenge. Either way, I don't think he would have needed to resort to using kidnapping and the threat of killing somebody's offspring to get him to comply, to willingly fight him as opposed to just surrendering. I mean, it's pretty slick. Anyway, the Dossiers as a whole, there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's fine. It's a PDF. I mean, I don't remember if if it was free from CGL, if it cost a couple dollars. Right? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while ago, but we could see some more of these things, right? I think CGL could do a deeper book on the bounty hunter. I don't know that there's ever been a novel written specifically for the bounty hunter. I know that the bounty hunter has popped up a couple times in various novels over the decades, which is kind of how come he is the character. He or she is the character that they are. So, right. Don't know how many more dossiers I've seen. This is the first one I've seen personally. I don't know if there's others. CGL has a lot of stuff that I'm still racing to play catch up on. I mean, it is what it is, right? Anyway, you guys have yourself a great weekend.